Let's have a look. We are live. Welcome to all the guests and welcome to the special guests. We've got Danny and we've got Muller. And you know what we're here for, to talk about the light heavyweight division that's catching everybody by storm, that's pissing people off, getting fighters to comment on my IG. But before we go into that, I need to apologize about the background. If you can see Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, I can't seem to get them off the screen. Maybe it's a fight that's supposed to haunt me for the rest of my life. But without further ado, let's get it cracking. Now, I'm the host. I done the breakdown. I'm going to throw this over. I'm going to throw it straight over to Muller. I want you to talk about your numbers, who you put where, and why to start off the debate. You got to come off mute, though. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Right, yes. Go backwards from 5 to 1. So number 5, I've got Dan Aziz. Number 4, I've got Callum Smith. Number 3, I've got Anthony Yard. Number 2, Craig Richards. Number 1, Joshua Buatsi. Now, I know people might speculate, why is Callum Smith so low? But for me, he's only had, 2 fights at light heavyweight. And for me, if I see one more fight, I reckon you could push him up the list. I'm willing to have an argument on Anthony Yard and Craig Richards either swapping places. But for me at the moment, as it stands, only because he's undefeated and I think he has the best win out of the top 3 because he's beaten one of my top 5, he's solidly number 1. Whereas Craig Richards and Anthony Yard, they've both been world level, but they've both lost at world level. And I know a lot of people speculate, but Yard's been there twice, but he's also been stopped twice. So for me, I can remove I don't have a bias to anyone. So for me, I can do it without no hesitation and having that. Whereas I think a lot of people pick certain fighters and put them in places because of a bias, as we've seen in the Discord, where Anthony Yard is solely ranked number 1 amongst a lot of people.
Yeah, it's nuts. Danny, over to you.
He's on mute.
Oh, Danny, you're on mute as well, yeah.
Hi, yeah, no, sorry, it's because I muted it when we were speaking. So yeah, number 5, I've got Dan Aziz. Number 4, I've got Anthony Yard. Number 3, Craig Richards. Number 2, Callum Smith, and Joshua Buatsi number 1. And the reason being Buatsi's number 1 is that it's similar to Muller, that he's got the best win domestically and overall out of all of them. He's got Kalic, which none of the other domestic boys are ever looking to call out. None of their promoters are ever looking to get that man back over. Bolotniks, who's won the Golden Contract Series, beating Stephen Ward, Jose Burton, Sergey Michel, and then he's beat Craig Richards. So those 3 victories, there isn't a guy on there, because then if you go to number 2, I've got Callum Smith, but that's solely based on what because he's a former world champion, albeit being at super middle. But with names like George Groves, Castillo, Rocky Fielding, prime Rocky Fielding in the first round, John Ryder, even though it was, controversial, he still got the W at the end of the day. And a lot of people tried to say one-armed George Groves, but George Groves wasn't one-armed in that fight, because George Groves was using both his left and his right hand. He was boxing good until he got caught with a catch counter on the temple, which wobbled his leg, and then it was the body shot what done him. It was nothing to do with an arm injury that made his performance any better or less. Number 3, I've got Craig Richards. I feel he's been through the gauntlet, and when you look at the rest of the 5, Craig's won the most fights as an underdog, i.e. when he fought for the Southern Area title against Alan Higgins. He was the underdog there. When he fought Jake Bull, he was the underdog there, GB rep, and Alan Higgins, GB rep. and beat Shakan Pitters on his own channel as an underdog as well.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So whereas the other guys, you can't really name a fight where they was the underdog and won. Any other times they've been underdogs, they've lost. Like i.e. Craig when he fought Bivol, he lost. Frank Buglioni, but he was at 5 days' notice and he was a super middleweight then. So yeah, and then I've got Anthony Yard at number 4 because he beat Lyndon Arthur, but that's his best win. And even when you look at the performances, even though when Anthony Yard did beat Dex Spellman, if you look at the way Shakan Pitters and Lyndon Arthur beat Dex Spellman, they beat him in better fashion. Yard kind of got to him at the end, near the end, with the sort of heavy-handedness. But when you're talking about winning rounds, Anthony Yard lost more rounds to Dex Spellman than Shakan Pitters and Lyndon Arthur did. So I'd put him at number 4. Even though he did have a very spirited effort and showed a lot of heart and durability, he hasn't yet performed and got a win that's better than the top 3. And then Dan Aziz, he's creeping up, but I think he might deserve to be a bit higher. And providing he wins next month.
What, Dan Aziz?
Yeah. He's number 5 because you've got to look at his wins. He's had some underdog wins, i.e. when he beat Charlie Duffield, everyone thought he was going to beat him. People thought Jose Burton was going to beat him when he won the British title.
I remember that as well. Yeah.
And he's now got wins over Rocky Fielding, Reese Cartwright, Shakan Pitters. So this is a roster, a good roster. He's beat a former world champion as well. When you're talking about Rocky Fielding as well, how many of them have actually beat a former world champion, apart from Callum Smith and Dan Aziz? I don't think any of the other 3 have.
But I was going to say that with Dan Aziz, I was going to say he could creep higher because when you actually look at his list domestically, it's probably the most impressive, right up there with Craig Richards when you talk domestically.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And I think what it is because none of us really have Dan as our dog, i.e. brethren bias / family bias. Why I think he's not getting the plaudits because even next month when he wins the European title, people are talking about he still can't move from number 5. But then when you look at winning the European title, that's the highest qualification and accolade out of everybody. So he'd have to be pushed up to number 2 and 1, even though you might not think on the eye test or talent-wise that he's the best. When you're talking about going for a job interview and everyone brings their qualifications in, he'll have the highest qualification.
Well, that's what I mean when you talk on paper about Dan Aziz. There's no mistake. That's why I said with Dan Aziz and Craig Richards, fair enough. Craig Richards has got a couple L's on his, but Dan Aziz got none. When you look at those 2, they are prepared to run through their brethren at light heavyweight or anyone else domestically at light heavyweight to prove who they are. Those are the 2 fighters that have literally said, I'm going to go through all of you. Yes, Buatsi did it the other day with Craig Richards, but before that, it wasn't really on those, running through all those domestics. The argument is, and like I said, I'm happy to receive criticism, backlash, is that Anthony Yard's been put up at number 1 for effort.
See, with that, because I'll say if you're going to do that, then you could easily push Craig up, because if you look at his defeat against Bivol, I won't wonder, like, obviously in the Discord, everyone was there, oh yeah, but if he did this a bit earlier, I was like, well, you can look at it in 2 ways, because if Bivol stepped up, it could have been different. It was a great, effort that he put in. And then if you look at his defeat when he did the super middle, that was on 5-day notice, and to even go the distance against Buglioni on such short notice, it was still a good fight. And then as much as you want to say, because even when we went to watch the Buatsi Richards fight, it was very split in opinions at who won. A lot of people will tell you they felt Richards won, whereas a lot of people say, no, they thought Josh won. So his defeats, other than Bivol, I would say, or even with Bivol, you could make an argument that he's always been in the fight and it's been very close. It's never been a case of he's been stopped or it's just been one-sided. So he has a very good argument
then-
on that case as well.
But this is what I'm saying. So to you, what is it? Why people would say Anthony Yarde is number one?
The world title shots, the 2 world title shots. That's the only thing I can logically think. Because again, even when we go back and forth and we all talk about it, his best win on paper for me is Lyndon Arthur. You could throw Dex Spellman in, and again, I know people will say, "Oh, but he lost to Arthur because he had a lot going
Shakan
on."
Peters has fought Dex Spellman.
And not even in a rude way, and obviously he was going through a lot, but at the same time, if he was going through that, maybe you shouldn't have even been in the ring. Like, you put yourself in that position where you was in the fight, and some people would argue, but he might have done enough. Because it wasn't, if I remember correctly, it wasn't unanimous decision that he won. So some people would argue that Yarde won that fight, but I just think because he then went 8 rounds with Beterbiev, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, it was a good effort. No one expected it." But you've got to put yourself in that position anyway. Like, for me, it was his best career performance.
Yeah, 100%.
I do feel in that performance there, he did look a lot better. And I would say it's probably the best performance I've seen from him. Granted, it was a loss, but I don't think just because he lost the way he did, it should push him up as high as everyone has him.
Well, yeah, you man are done for. Wagwan, you man. Nice to see you pop in here with you. Based on the eye test, Yarde is number one, right? Records aside. But this is the debate. What does make somebody ranked as number one in your eyes? It's subjective. And even I get it with the governing bodies, the different boards of, boxing governing bodies. They will have their reasons, which I put up in that video, whoever's ranked number 1, 2, and 3 in their list as well. Is that based on certain tests they have to do? Even they've got different people at different places in their number one slot. But what I'm saying, and go on.
No, go on. I'd say I think everyone forgets though, when you look at the route Yarde went both times, it was the WBO European title route. Now, not to discredit any boxer in the world, but when you look at that list of, say, European fighters on that list, how many of them transfer into other governing bodies lists? Like, it's like even earlier, I see people was discrediting the Bolotniks win for Buatsi. And I was just like, well, he's a decent fighter. Granted, this is just only with the WBA, but he's ranked in their top 5. He's not top 5 for no reason. Like, it's a good fighter. It might not have looked great on your eye. You may look at his record and think X, Y, Z, but I think a lot of the time, when you just look at knockouts, which Yarde has done, it does look good. But at the same time, when he's been in there with world level operators,
he's come up short.
He's come up short.
Yeah.
Danny?
And I was going to say, with the Yarde knockout thing, I know he's been billed as a knockout artist, but if you look at his knockouts on who he's knocked out, if you was to get all those opponents he's knocked out, if you put them in with Callum Smith knocks all of them out. You put them in with Buatsi knocks all of them out. You put them in with Craig Richards knocks all of them out. So how good are those knockouts when if all 3 of those fighters had those guys as their opponents, they'd have the same knockout ratio.
But then, like I said, to me, you've got to start mixing in these guys with each other. I've personally said, like I said, everyone's like, well, Buatsi gets the credit because of obviously, his amateur pedigree, his Olympic status, all of that. But who's he for? That is the backlash that I'm getting. Why are you saying that Buatsi's number 1? So I've said, okay, yes, Buatsi needs to step up. So to me, the fight that I would like to see, selfishly or not, is Buatsi Yarde, which is the fight that all of us have been talking about for about 700 years. Because to me, that then determines who should be at that number 1 spot.
Yeah,
But until
and
them two fight, I am going to stick with Buatsi being number one.
yeah, and also the reason why I feel people have chose Yard is because it's the usual thing of what have we seen lately from everybody, and Yard's had the most recent performance, the most recent good performance out of everyone, whereas Craig and Buatsi have been off the shelf for how long? The Bowderleek win is a decent win because I mean Bowderleek stopped
Yeah, for Callum.
McCalkin with a broken jaw for the European title, but most people don't really know who Bowderleek was. But that was a good win as well. But because Yard's the most recent fight, everyone's jumping on that. But then people say, "Oh, by the eye test, okay." But if we was to do the eye test, how would people think Yard would fare against Bivol? How many rounds do they believe he would win against someone like Bivol? Because styles make fights, and I think Bivol is the wrong style for him. Yard does good against flat-footed, come-forward fighters, whereas if you're on the move and you've got a good jab and fast hands with good footwork, he's going to struggle with guys like Shakan Pitters, but Pitters does try to get involved sometimes, so might be his undoing. Lyndon Arthur, that kind of jab style. Craig Richards with his jab and move. But then guys like Buatsi, Dan Aziz, Anthony Yard will excel against them and look good against guys like that, better than he would against the jabbers and movers. Whereas someone like Craig Richards, he does good against boxers. If you look at when he fights people taller than him, even though he's tall, Jake Ball, Shakan Pitters, he's able to out jab them and take them out. Whereas when he's got a guy who's more of a come forward fighter, even shorter, he will more struggle with them. Similar to David Haye. David Haye was great against tall guys. He's good at punching up big guys. And then when it's shorter guys like the French guy he fought and shorter guys, he tend to struggle quite a lot. So styles make fights, really.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. G Chain, thank you very much. Super chat $8.99. Can't wait to split that 3 ways. I am so grateful. Thank you so much. Fats 95. Yard failed because of his lack of top level opponents. He let Arthur swing him in the corners. I think in his case, we blame promotion and management. I think if Yard was with Hearn, he would have been champ. I don't know. We can discuss that. I agree with King Fats. Hearn would have guided Yard to a world title. He would have made him fight tough European level fights, getting ready for world championships. Anthony Yard will maul Buatsi after his performance against Beterbiev. Domestically, no one is seeing Yard. That is a very, very bold comment.
I'll touch on the Hearn thing. Because the only thing I'd say Hearn would do differently is probably it wouldn't have been the WBO European title route. Like, again, we probably would have ended up down the WBA route.
WBA, yeah.
Because when you look at Hearn, most of his fighters end up going that route with the WBA. Whereas Frank, as we see a lot, it's a very WBO European type route where you put your fighters. Again, I don't shame it because obviously it's getting them to the top and pushing them into them positions. But again, it's the level of opponents you then face in that is very subjective because I'm pretty certain none of them fighters that you fight would be in the standard WBO top 15. Because I guarantee if we looked at all of his opponents, none of them was probably ranked in the world part of the WBO rankings. So I think it is very subjective when you look at it. But it's just a very weird route that Warren takes these fighters down.
I don't know. Danny, what do you think of that?
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out if anybody on the in the comments, could you go to BoxRec and look at who Yard fought the fight before he fought Kovalev?
Hold on.
Oh, I did have that up on one of my phones, but I can't find.
Yeah, to get his shot against Kovalev. Who did he beat?
I got the.
Was it Travis Reeves?
Hold on. Kovalev. Yeah, Travis Reeves.
Yeah, like that's not acceptable. How's that? How does that make you mandatory?
Preparation.
How'd you get a shot
Yeah,
off of
but
the
you could
back
say the
of that?
same thing. Well, you could say the same thing when he fought the one that he fought before he boxed Beterbiev.
Well,
Okay,
Linden.
no, he
No,
did. I think there was a fight after because it was a warm up. Remember, because he had a
yeah,
little warm up because
yeah.
they knew the fight was being pushed back because of the injury. So they put a fight in place just before for him to get a little run out.
Mm.
Yeah, but I'm saying that to get the shot was the Linden fight in the first place. That was just
Yeah.
the guy before was just a run out. But I'm talking about to get the shot
Keep
Kovalev.
active fight, yeah.
Yeah, but to get the shot Kovalev, who did he beat to even earn that? Was it even somebody who you would say is ranked in the WBO? Travis Reeves wasn't ranked in the top 10.
That's why I say if you look at the European WBO European rankings, I'm pretty certain you might find number 1 in the top 15, but I don't think you'll find many of those other fighters probably even in the top 20 of their list. That's why I'm saying it's a very weird route. Granted, it yields very nice endings because obviously it got him to mandatory twice, but it's just a very weird route where you can look at it and say he's not fought no one. Because if you ask anyone what's his best win, you will always hear Lyndon Arthur or maybe
It's
Dex
always
Spellman.
going to be Lyndon Arthur, I'd say, is his best win. Somebody said, who said that he'll maul? Somebody says he'll maul Buatsi.
I think Buatsi's the way Buatsi comes
I don't know about
in
that.
and the way Buatsi is easier to drag into a fight. I think it would kind of play into Yard's hands, but then we don't know how he's going to react to what Buatsi would do. Now we've already seen him be stopped twice. Granted, it was against much bigger punchers, but we don't know what that fight looks. Their styles realistically make a very good fight, which is why it is the fight everyone wants to see.
Well, I'd say Beterbiev, yeah, bigger puncher. Kovalev in his prime probably was a bigger puncher than Buatsi, but the way he administered the punches in the Yard fight wasn't Crusher style.
No,
it wasn't. Still managed to get the job done. So someone
arguably Yard could have won that fight, but
yeah, but he gassed himself out, and I think you look at it, and I think
he did.
Even in the Beterbiev fight, there was I forget what round it was. He hit him, and I think it was when he rocked him near the. I say rocked him. It's when he got him near the end of the round, and Beterbiev just managed to see the round out. I thought Yard might have stepped on it a bit more, but then I think he probably thought, "Let me not step on it and go for it." Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah, I can't
remember. He hit him with a big straight right hand. He hit him with a big straight right hand
in round 5. So I remember seeing that, and I thought, "Oh, maybe he might step on it." But he didn't. But I was thinking, okay, maybe he's keeping his reserve after last time and he doesn't want to gas out, because I would say the demolition from Beterbiev, if he had gassed out that way, would have been a lot worse than what Kovalev did.
But he hit him with the right hand. And then in that round, Beterbiev, that was the first time when Beterbiev got him in the corner and started pounding him towards the end of the round, actually. So Beterbiev never did. It wasn't a thing of Beterbiev saw the round out. He went for it. He guided him and Bull matadored him into the corner.
Yeah, the way he was doing that in that fight, it was just tremendous stuff to watch.
It was, but all of that aside, it was a good fight. It's a fight, like I think was it yourself that said, Gatti Ward. It's one of them that you won't forget that fight between them pair. I'm not saying it's as severe as Gatti Ward, but I'm saying that it's a fight that you'll remember. Yes, okay, Beterbiev was dominant. I said it was going to get tasty once it got inside, because that's what Beterbiev does. And we can go on to Styles make fights. Beterbiev works on the power inside. That's what he does. You could see in the beginning when Yard started off, Beterbiev looked frustrated because Yard was moving like offside and Beterbiev was swinging and missing. And you could see he was just waiting and waiting until he started to get inside. And that's when like I said, it's going to be who can take whose power punches, who can hold them shots. And then it was obvious from obviously the result of it, the power that Beterbiev has.
You know, the funny thing is, I was watching the fight with my cousin, and I was like, the first 3 rounds, you could, even though you could see he was getting frustrated, like at times, Beterbiev with the landing, I was like, it does look like he was kind of just soaking everything Yard was doing, because he kind of got into the rhythm where everything he was doing come a bit repetitive, and then you started seeing Beterbiev like walk him down, taking him into the corners. Because for me, that was probably one of the biggest mistakes he made. He allowed himself to get walked onto the ropes or into the corners very easily.
That's because of the experience of Beterbiev being able to control his fight. Sadiq,
He was so good.
is that, and that's experience, isn't it? Being able to take control of the fight and make it yours. Shout out to Sadiq. Look at Dan Aziz's record in succession of Duffield, Southern Area, Osiku, unbeaten for English, Andre Sterling, another name at the time, who was seen as quiet. Trying to make sure Beterbiev was always in control based on his IQ. You won't forget that fight, because then man put it. No, it was a good fight, Felix. Come on, I'm not taking away no credit.
I was very impressed with Yard's corner as well in that fight, because I think it was the first time I've looked at Tunde and thought it didn't seem gimmicky. Because loads of times you would see fights, Yard was in fights, and you would hear probably the lions in the camp sort of thing in the corner. But at this fight, I saw a different side, and it actually made me respect him a bit more. Because normally when I look at them, I just think of all the gimmicks that they do. I get, yeah, it's show business, but it does get annoying sometimes. But I think, and then even watching him as the fight was about to be stopped, like you could generally see, like when he got dropped, I think it's either just after or just as he's getting up, you kind of see him look to where the what's his name is, and it looks like he's say, we might get the towel. And then obviously when he gets up, you could see Yard wasn't all there. So when he stepped in and then put the towel in, I was like, nah, you've got to respect it, because some guys would probably just let the fighter go out on their shield, but sometimes you just have to save your fighter. And I think it was excellent what he did.
I'm never gonna sit here and criticize Tunde Ajayi, because I won't. They're a good team. We've seen improvements. Whether you want to credit that to Mr. Cook, who's been added to the team, but them pair, they do make a good fighter trainer team. Whatever you think, they suit each other, and Tunde saved him in there, because he looked at his corner. I thought he said, "No, I'm all right." That's what I thought. He was nodding, saying, "No, I'm cool."
He said, "What?"
But then obviously, I didn't see. That's what I'm saying. I didn't even see that. I thought he looked and went, "I'm cool."
And I thought, because for me, when I first saw it in real time, I thought it looked like he was kind of asking the corner to save him when he got up, and it was like you kind of see him go back and you see him look down. But that's why I thought in real time. But then obviously when I've seen like replays, and then even like before that even happened, and you see Tunde actually assessing everything. But like I say, after watching that fight, I think my respect, if I remove all the gimmicky stuff, I would say 100%. I think everything they did in that camp, if they can continue going about it the way they have,
100,
and Yard gets the better fights, I think we will see improvements. But I do think he needs them step ups like the Joe Smiths and stuff like that. I think we need to see him in with that level of fighter.
Domestic European level. Sorry, Danny, go on.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna go off the back of what you guys were saying about Tunde. I think when you said Muller, you said he says like lions in the camp in the corner. He hasn't actually said that.
I don't know. It just feels like he says that. You know, it's because I always hear it. It just feels like it's him doing it in the corner.
No, remember when you actually watch them chants of stuff, it's not Tunde screaming it. It's Ade screaming it. You know, he does the lions.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably someone next to it, but it just makes me think it's Tunde.
Yeah, it's the big guy who goes, "Oh, we don't get beef and stuff." So, and also when Tunde, Tunde, you gotta commend him about his management skills, because the way he's managed to market Anthony Yard, get him his sponsorship, guide him to 2 world title shots, and as he said, when Yard was upset when we waved it off, he said, "I'm not gonna let them hurt my son," because Tunde's in there. You know, people laugh at Tunde the way he looks at Yard when they walk into the ring, and he talks about them as a we, but to him they are a package. So when he's in there, he feels what Yard's going through. So this is why even in the post fight presser when Beterbiev was like, "Yeah, a trainer has to feel a fighter. He has to feel them." So and that's Tunde. So this is what I mean. Tunde's a good guy, he's a good trainer, and I think Yard's shown a lot of improvements. I love the way he was using the check hook to offset and knock Beterbiev off balance, especially in the first round. Yeah, because I think maybe on Monday Night Smoke I might have come across a bit too critical, but we also have to give praise and credit where it's due as well for fighters as well. So yeah, Yardy did it. He did it.
No, but I think the frustration with that is like everyone's praising you for doing your job. I think that's why you might have said what you said. I get it. Yeah, he went in there and he boxed and he boxed well, but he didn't win. Whether you're a fan or not, I can sit on the fence with this and literally look at it objectively, and that's why I can't take anything away from the performance. But then, like I said already, if you're going to do that, you have to bring Craig Richards into the equation, because everyone says Dmitry Bivol is the man that's going to beat Artur Beterbiev, and I think he won't. But if you, like I said, if you're going to put Yard on a pedestal, you've got to put Craig Richards up there as well.
What do you think, Muller?
I've always thought Bivol would be Beterbiev. I've always kind of gone with that, but I don't know if that's just because I have a very strong liking for Bivol. But I've always just felt his style probably suited. I think he'd be open for body punches at the same time, but I just think their style will kind of gel. But I just think Bivol will do it. Because like even with the Canelo thing, I was laughing when I saw everyone was saying Canelo was going to beat him. I just thought a lot of you people are going off the hype. I don't think a lot of you have actually watched Bivol enough to see that what he does in is good. And that's another case. No one really knew who he was. I remember the first time, I think it was the Monte Carlo show I saw him on. And it was from then I was like, nah, I really like this guy. Like from what I saw there, just the way he controls the ring and what he does, it's just impressive. But obviously, we know
he is still more orthodox. He's still more orthodox than Beterbiev, though. Beterbiev is all over the place with them angles, and I think Dmitry Bivol's still quite straight on in straight lines. You can predict what he's going to do, and we saw that in his last fight. I know he's a very good boxer because he makes use of the double and the triple jab to push you back, to throw the power shots. But I still think Beterbiev, when it comes to the overall IQ, I believe that his experience, and like I said, once he gets inside, that power will stand him in good stead. Everyone was talking about father time with Beterbiev. Where was it on Saturday?
Nowhere.
Where was Grandad on Saturday?
What's one thing they always say that goes? Power's the last thing that goes. And what prevailed? Power
and IQ. And also, you got to remember when you're talking about Beterbiev as well and Bivol, yes, his defense is good because he's able to tuck up, but we've seen on multiple occasions now when fighters try to tuck up, he breaks through the guard and he gets around them corners. Yes, Canelo tried to punch his arms like he fought Bivol with Callum Smith, but
that's what he did with Callum Smith, isn't it?
Yeah, so it didn't work on Bivol, but we know that Beterbiev has some different kind of powers. If you sit on them ropes and you let him pound away at your arms and your ribs and your temple, it's going to be a different result, because when Joe Smith caught Bivol at the end of the 10th,
yeah, I just think stylistically they just make it just feels like it's a match made in heaven.
It's 50-50.
Is champ v champ? It is champ v champ. I've seen off the canvas in the comments, OTC. I'm going to say OTC's got brethren bias. Sorry, OTC. He
definitely does.
Yard.
Yeah, but and also let's remember, we've got to remind some of our British fighters that just because we want them to face off against each other, we're not calling it a domestic, like a domestic level fight, because otherwise, Bivol and Beterbiev could be screaming, "Hey man, I'm not doing domestic," because they're fellow countrymen.
Yeah, and I think that's
not according to the WBC, they're not.
Yeah, was it Canadian? He comes in under.
Yeah, but I saw Viterbo get a
I'm
very
not
nice,
even getting into that because
a very nice homecoming today in Russia. But yeah, we won't get into that.
where
Like
was
I
that?
said, it's
Now,
just a
that
weird one.
was Canada, bro. That was Canada.
All right,
It
maybe
was Canada. A Jedi mind tricks. It was Canada.
all
Like
right.
I say, it's a fight we need, but we know at the moment it's probably a fight we're not gonna get, and I think that's the downside to it.
Well,
Like,
yeah. Well, well, Callum Smith said he's in line. He was waiting for the winner of Beterbiev Yard, so he's already got his mind focused on
yeah,
that.
the
I know
the
that.
WBC will probably try and force that one through next anyway. So,
Well, he's fighting what? He's
Why?
fighting March the 11th. Oh yeah, sorry. Before we go on, Felix. It's you, Dom Felix. October Red. Can you please out me for my mistake? Your mix-up. That's what you are. See that thing? You know, I put up the thing, guys. For the viewers, hello, welcome. Shout out to all 36 of you here. I didn't even think I'd get to 10. We've been having this debate in our private Discord boxing. That is why we're doing this live now, because we've all got different opinions and we don't all agree on everything. So I had like my top 3, top 4. However, when you look across the board, you can't really rule out Dan Aziz. So we made it like a list, and that's what I says we're going to speak about the list. And then this Dom Felix Donny, respect to you, yeah, decided to at Lyndon Arthur to make it look like we were just not including Lyndon Arthur in the top 5, like we've forgot about him. Nobody hasn't forgot about him. It's that we're talking about those 5 boxers who, in our opinion, whichever way you put them round, are in the top 5. So yeah, there you go. You're outed on here
crazy thing
now.
is, some people might even throw Lyndon Arthur in their top 5. And
well, if they can put it in the chat now, because at the end of the day, it's your opinion. You're entitled to that.
It's just one of those. Again, like I said, even said in the Discord, boxing is about opinions. Like any sport, it's about opinions. Because if everyone agreed on everything, it'd just be boring.
But I ain't adding someone that's not mentioned in the comments though to bait it up. Though I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no, that was what I did see. That was a bit wild.
Because like I said, this is
Lyndon come back.
Yeah, that was moist.
Like I said to Dan, yeah, this is not top of the pops. This is not the top 10.
Smash hits.
But
yeah, no, I can see why some people might say Lyndon, because all right, if you look at his best wins, Anthony Yard,
it's Yard,
Dex Spellman.
It's crazy. Their 2 best wins, they both share with each other, and it's mad.
And
They're
Dex
both
Spellman.
Dex Spellman. Like that's what I was saying. But it's mad when you look at it. You can't be mad if someone did put him in, like because they're both of them share their best wins with one another.
Yeah, one another and Dex Spellman. It's both the exact same. It's identical.
Here we go. Hold on. Who's that? Super D. Super D, pop your list in the chat. Let us know. You said Lyndon's in your top 5 for sure. Pop it into the chat.
But after next month, because I do believe Dan will win the European. That list, it's gonna edit and people ain't gonna like it when his number goes up, and he's going up. He's gonna have to hit that top 2.
You know, and he's doing it so well. The way he's done it has been so good. Because you can't say he's ducking anyone, because he's taking all challenges. And I think that's the thing I like about him, is the fact that he's not ducking anything. He's just doing it his own way, but he's doing it in a way that you have to respect.
He's doing it like Carlito's way. Do you remember me? Yeah. He's coming around the corner.
Benny Blanco from the Bronx.
Yeah. That's how he's doing it. You're not, and he's going to come out of nowhere, and he's like, "Rah!" Oh, when you look at
what? I personally think Dan Aziz gives a lot of them problems now.
Of course he does.
Because when you're in the ring with Dan Aziz, he doesn't. He's like a rash that is ready to invade your body. And to me, he already had a style, but obviously it's developing and getting better under Buddy McGirt. Do you know what I mean? I see so much, the improvements. You what, Saz?
No, North Bank Brain. He's got Buatsi, Smith, Richards, Yard, Aziz. See, it's
That's-
weird. That
Smith, Richard,
a lot of people,
Aziz. Yeah.
those
That's
2,
my
3,
list.
I
and
think
4.
That's the
Yeah,
same
2,
as
3,
me.
and 4
Oh, no, it
is
isn't.
the
Smith
ones that you
wasn't
can
there.
mix around. 2, 3, and 4 are those
Yeah.
ones you can pretty much mix around.
The only reason
Yeah.
why I didn't include Smith is because Smith has only just kind of gone over to light heavyweight. That's the only reason why
That's my
I didn't
thing.
like
And because it's just
mention
the 2
him.
fights, I do feel he deserves to be in there, but that's why he's at the back end of my list, because I need to see at least one more fight. Because let's be honest, when he knocked out, because I think everyone remembers that knockout. Like it's hard to forget that a man's leg was shaking for ages. Like it was brutal.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
think he had like a seizure in the ring, didn't he? Was
Yeah,
that
just
what was his
crazy.
name? Oh,
Lennon Castillo.
yeah,
Lennon-
never seen my
he
man
went-
again.
It was points with Bivol. He went, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Really?
but Bib's not a puncher.
No, I'm saying, but so you can use that as like when people
That's why
it's a good
Beterbiev
level of
wins.
opponent. No, but it's a good level of opponent that he's been in with. So it's not like he picked a scrub and beat him. Like
Yeah.
Castillo's proven himself to a degree. Like
And
Might
Bibble
just be-
dropped Castillo actually.
Ooh.
But Castillo got up and lost on points.
yes, I just think
Oh,
one
did
more
he?
fight from Callum Smith, and I think we're definitely looking at it in a different way. Like that's what I'm saying.
But how
One
can you
win-
say
Yeah.
how can you say one more fight? Because he's fighting this Powell Stepian.
Okay, no,
um,
so I didn't know who he was fighting. So
But that's
yeah.
kind of like that's kind of the stay busy fight while Yard Beterbiev did their thing, and obviously to get him in line to take that mandatory shot. That we hope that obviously the next fight that Callum Smith has is with Arthur, because
see, I didn't know
that's
he was,
how it should
fighting
go.
someone else. I thought he was gonna just try jump straight
Yeah,
in.
nah.
No, it's
Yeah.
fighting a
March
Polish guy.
11th.
And this guy's not even a number one in Poland. He's number 2 in Poland. And
Okay,
he
so,
actually had a
you know what it is?
draw.
He's gonna stay where he is based on the level of opponent. Like
Yeah,
I thought he was
this-
in there with someone decent.
No, because this opponent, he had a draw with do you remember Marek Mateja, who Craig took out in 6?
Yes,
They
That
had a
was
domestic Polish clash,
yeah.
and they had a draw. And then they had a rematch, and it was a split decision. But Mateja was coming forward, pressing the action, and I thought that Mateja won, but Powell got the split decision.
Mm.
But it's the
shout out
same.
to Tube Faddy, sorry. Tube Faddy Aziz is a problem for any 175 in the UK. Totally agreed. Listen to Dan the Man's listen. Shout out to Dan the Man. If you want any updates on Twitter from
Dan's
football
your man.
to people getting slapped up in the street, go to Dan the Man on Twitter, because the stuff that he had me in at like 5:30 in the morning is amazing. And his list is Joshua Buatsi, Richard, Smith, Aziz, and Yard. See, everyone's kind of like messing around with those middle 3. You man are done for. Aziz is like the laxative going through you. North Bank Brent, yeah, like I said, it's all subjective. We're covering the arguments for each. Brilliant. Jeremy Tillman, shout out to you. JB, Smith, Yard, Richards, Aziz. The lists are all similar. Declan says Yard, Smith, JB, Spider, and Aziz.
Strange one.
That just seems a bit trolling still.
Yeah, that's Polish, that one. Let's
But
check out.
everyone's
When did he
listed
make that
differently.
account? When did he make that account? But no, what I would say with
He's in
Dan
the
Aziz,
Discord one.
Dan Aziz he reminds me of, and this is no disrespect, actually it's a compliment in fact. He reminds me of a poor man's Beterbiev. He uses similar shots to Beterbiev where he jabs, step to the side, comes over, works the body inside. He applies a lot of pressure, and he just seems like he's a bit
But
minus
why
the
you say
punch,
why you say poor man's Beterbiev, bro?
because it's the
Can
similar
you just
style.
say like Beterbiev baby cousin? Why you have to say poor man?
No,
You could have
because
said
that's
Beterbiev's baby cousin.
no, we're not doing baby. We're not babying him. No, because that's the boxing terminology people use. They say poor man's, but it doesn't mean like it's not the way it sounds. But what it is, his style reminds me of Beterbiev.
I get that though. I get what you mean though, style wise.
Yeah, and remember, and what it is why he's improving so much is because he's going out and sparring these guys. He sparred Kovalev, he sparred Beterbiev, he sparred Rashid Ellis, no, Ronald Ellis, the one who fought David Benavidez. So he's going out to America and he's sparring these men that he's sparring these guys where I'm like, wow.
But so's Lyndon Arthur.
Well, Lyndon Arthur only done the when
Beterbiev did Beterbiev.
Yeah, Beterbiev was tapering down though.
Well,
it wasn't in the full camp.
Man said cost of living version of Beterbiev.
Man said
cost of living.
God. Who's put that?
No, Lyndon.
You man are done for.
Who said that?
You man are done for.
What is wrong with him?
Lyndon sparred him when
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, Lyndon sparred him when Beterbiev was tapering down like on his last 10 days, whereas Dan Aziz and Bolotniks was like chief sparring partners in there. So it was a different time.
After Canvas is trolling again, he says, forget resume. If they were to fight each other, I truly believe that Yard would accumulate the most wins.
So I don't know. I really don't know.
Could do. I don't know.
It's like I say, it's a weird one. Like I say, domestically, I would say domestically for me, this is my favorite division. Like as a domestic, because we've got so many good fighters, which is causing a divide of opinions. And
yeah, Alchemy's just put Yard is better than Aziz. Come on, man. Yeah, at the moment, I'd say yes, but I'm saying that Aziz causes problems. I can't. That's why Aziz is the last one on my list, because I can't yet put him up there with the rest of them. But he is a problem.
Yeah, he's the last on my list. But
I think he's the last on most people's list.
But next month is changing, providing he wins. By the way.
Yeah, I'd say if he wins, you
win.
have to change it. You have to push him up if he wins. Well, if I think it like you, I think he'll win. But if he wins, you have to push him up. There's no way you can push him back. Like, let's be honest. The resume.
Well, yeah, you've got to push him up. But speaking of pushing up, Buatsi's got to step up. But now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about as well is, to be fair, I've been hearing whispers for a long time, but it's been announced today that Joshua Buatsi is now a free agent. However, with the caveat that Matchroom still want to have him. Does that mean a possible fight by fight? However, I don't know. Over to you.
But obviously they have a matching clause. So if someone offered him something, they have the option to give him the same offer. So again, I do feel he will shop himself out there to see what he can get. But then at the same time, I've seen a lot of people saying he could end up at Top Rank and that could push forward like the Beterbiev fight, but we know that's tied up.
Top Rank.
I saw a thing earlier because obviously being then American based, Beterbiev's with Top Rank, it's an option, but I just don't know if he will do it in that sense. I think
Bob Arum.
It's got pulling power. Don't get me wrong. As much as I dislike Bob, like he's still got some pulling power.
No, I'm just thinking about the dynamics between the relationship with Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum. Eddie Hearn has sort of like alluded that he kind of like still would like him to be there. So
I think Buatsi's not helped himself in some cases though, and I think that's the issue. It's a very weird one. He doesn't seem as active, and then when he meant to fight, I forget who it was, but before the Craig Richards fight, he was meant to have a fight back end of 2021. Then
Maxim Blazov.
Yeah, and then there was the injury. Then it was, we'll reschedule it, but then that never got rescheduled. Then we got a fight we did want to see, which again was a very good night of boxing that night, and then it's just not moved anywhere since. So I just feel like he's good to have in a sense, but at the same time, it's a bit like the Akoli issue that you had with Eddie. It's like, what do you do with him?
Jeremy's just put it in there. Eddie said today that JB staying at Matchroom for the next fight. Sounds Akoli-ish.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what happened.
Come
So
on,
what
man.
happened is
Where me popcorn there?
Yep.
so what happened? Remember, he was meant to fight Maxim Vlasov. Then he had
Yeah.
the hand injury.
Which
Then
he showed up with a little hand wrap, the little
yeah. But
thing
then
for a brief
it was meant to get rescheduled. I remember I told you October. I said the fight's not getting rescheduled. So I knew that because he was saying he didn't fancy the job. So Eddie proposed to him, well, if you fight Craig Richards, winner gets a shot at Bivol. So remember, Buatsi was saying, listen, I don't mind taking a hard fight, meaning Vlasov or Richards, but I just want to guarantee that I get a shot straight after it. What is my reward for it? So that was the deal. Buatsi's beat Craig. So the deal is he's meant to get Bivol. Eddie's not honoured that because Eddie's talking about Canelo rematch. Then he's trying to throw him in with Callum Smith for nothing. So Buatsi's like, well, you've not honoured what you told me. So he had one fight left on his contract, but in that contract, whereas back in the day, fighters wouldn't have a thing of there's a time limit on your contract as well. So they just get shelved for years and years. These guys like Okoli and Buatsi have got a time frame on their contract as well. So if you don't give them a certain amount of fights within a certain amount of time, then the contract expires. And so Buatsi decided to just sit it out and let the contract run out because he's not getting the fight he wants, i.e. the Bivol fight. So now it's run out. Now Eddie's saying we can do a fight by fight deal and we'll see what happens. And that's similar to what happened to Okoli. He had one fight left, but the time ran out. And yeah, so that must be a 258 thing, what they've put in there for them.
Yeah, it seems weird because both fighters are 258 or were 258, and you know it's happened.
No, but who said Buatsi's left 258 though?
No, he hasn't. But
No, he hasn't. But
it sounds rocky over there.
Yeah,
it sounds
I've
rocky.
seen a lot of speculation
Where are you
online.
guys getting this info from?
Sources.
Am I?
I saw a lot of speculation online. I'm not gonna lie. With that one.
Is it Dom Felix reporting and atting people on the thing?
God. Rick Glazier.
I would say he's doing a very good job there. It's just a weird one. I think a more fight by fight basis would suit a fight like because you just don't know what you're gonna get. Like, it just seems weird. He's had 16. He's 16 fights in. And what was he? The Brazil Olympics. That was what 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, all right then. But look at it from So from the fighter's point of view, you've got you sit down with your manager, with your promoter. You've got your roadmap set up. You know that you want to have certain amount of fights in a certain amount of time, and maybe the end goal is you go for the title fight, the world title fight. So you as a fighter have then got the choice to either take whatever fights you get, whoever they are, where they're ranked. We like to call everyone a bin man or whatever. Or you stay inactive, yeah, and then you fight. You go for your title shot. So if that's the logic, and if that's kind of like what you're alluding to with Buatsi, then there's no way no one should be criticizing Yard for sitting back and waiting to go for those title shots. Because one of the things I've always said that I don't like to see is inactivity with boxers. I understand that you want the belts. The belts are the ones that give you the better money. But then what do? Do you risk the inactivity? Look at what's happened to Filip Hrgović. Filip Hrgović, all right, it's a different weight division, but he was a really good boxer. A boxer that people's like risk versus rewards. Not really sure about this. And then, unfortunately, I understand his father passed away. Not nice. But then he went in the ring with Zhilei Zhang, who obviously is fighting Joyce now. And Zhilei Zhang won. In my eyes, I think in a lot of people's eyes, this is inactivity kills the fighters. So what do? Do you wait for these title shots, or do you think, you know what, I need to just get these fights, get my name out there, get the wins, get weathered in boxing, because obviously you're still taking punches, and then you get your title shot. It's tough for the fighters. It's tough
Yeah.
for
None
the
of that, though.
fighters.
Are a lot of fighters really in it for that? A lot of fighters seem fine now with inactivity or to fight just twice a year.
Yeah, boy,
They're
so
And I
not,
think
but they're they're more strategic. Because remember, it's not like Boatsi wanted to sit out for this long because he was meant to get the shot last year, and then they
yeah.
slid Zerdo Ramirez in front of
Zerdo,
him.
yeah, I was gonna say Zerdo got slid in there as a mandatory.
Yeah, he got slid in out of nowhere. So he got shafted, and then Eddie's tried to put Callum Smith in Boatsi's face when it was meant to be Lyndon Arthur versus Callum Smith first. So Boatsi's thinking, oh, because I got one fight deal, and I know that it's been a bit rocky with Matchroom. I know they argue a lot and stuff like that. So he's thinking, oh, they're trying to get me out of there with no title shot. Because then after the one fight, what you don't re-sign me or I don't re-sign, and then what? I go off with nothing. So he's thinking, no, I want my world title shot as my last fight. You've just slid in Zerdo, so then now where's my shot? Bivouac got no one else to fight. So after Zerdo, after you've done me over this time, so why am I not getting my shot? So Eddie was trying to play him. So I can see why he was frustrated.
Do you think Eddie's trying to play him? And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Do you think Eddie's trying to play him, or Eddie's juggling a lot of plates? Because you know he's going for the global market, and then certain men are just getting left in the dirt. Maybe not even when I say not intentionally, it's like, you know, when you're grabbing so much food on your plate and it's like you're spinning these plates and then unfortunately a couple man's just getting left out.
Couple dishes crashed. Remember that game on cable where you'd have the man spinning the dishes?
Spinning the plates. Oi, that was a cold game. I was talking about that just the other day.
Do you understand? And let's face it, in the boxing industry, and I'm not going to bring crossover into this, but the fighters that have got like the personality that like really stand out, it doesn't even matter if they're not even that good. They're the ones that are guaranteed to get the fights because guess what? They're selling tickets.
But does Zerdo have personality?
I don't know.
I don't know. I've never even heard his voice.
He's not. Where's he from?
Mexico.
That's what I'm saying. Well, where was like Eddie like trying to like
take
over with
like
all the Canelo flicks?
Eddie just seemed like he was on his world tour and kind of forgot everything domestically. Again, I don't blame him because he was trying to build up the empire in it. So you kind of got to respect it because he is putting himself in more places where we will get more cards. So it's respectable to get in new territories and everything. But I feel domestically, he hurt everything domestically chasing the world. Whereas you have Frank Smith, you could have one of you, even because Frank Smith, he says, is the guy that's taken over. You should have let him do everything UK wise and get him started on that role and just focus on the domestic side while you went off. And I think this year he has to put things right domestically.
Well, no, and I think he's openly said that. He knows what he's got to do. He said, yeah, could I've done. He said that in several interviews that he's done with other channels. He said, yeah, I know there's certain things that I should have done before and I really need to make that right. However, North Bank Bren's just put something in the comments, and thanks for putting that because I saw it on Twitter. Chantal Cameron ain't too happy too. Have you seen the tweet that she put up?
No. I go on Twitter sometimes. I see there's too many notifications, so I go in, look, and I hop back out because sometimes they just seem too wild for me. I'm just like, I'll read something. I'm like, yeah, I'm coming out here.
Obviously, Eddie's over in New York with Alicia Baumgardner, who's going for the unification. Right, here we go. Matchroom Boxing tweeted, Alicia Baumgardner has options. Business is Saturday first. Eddie Hearn. There was a clip of the Matchroom interview today. So Chantal Cameron's tweeted, deja vu. This is exactly what was said for me and McCaskill's fight. On the build-up, the winner gets a potential fight with Katie. Starry eyes. Exactly the same, undisputed v undisputed. But now it's not mentioned.
See, well, that's what I like Katie, but I just don't. Everyone's chasing the Katie Taylor fight. I get it; it's the jackpot prize, but not everyone's gonna get it, regardless of how you look at it. Like,
yeah, but she's a champion, so she wants to unify with the champion. It's not like Chantel's just some random with no belt.
No, I get that, but I just think
she's
it's
got the
like everyone
belt.
wants that one fight, and it just seemed weird that obviously it seemed like when it comes to it, everyone's fixated on that one fight. Oh, you said I can't see
Yeah,
Katie
it's kind of like
Taylor.
everyone wanting. Yeah, but it's kind of like everyone wanting to fight AJ, isn't it? It's the biggest
Yeah,
payday,
it's the biggest.
and it's for
I
all of
get it's
them,
the
and
biggest
it's for
payday.
all of the marbles. So the target's going to be on your back. But she's saying this is kind of like what was promised to me, and it ain't happening.
It sounds like Boatsy as well. He was
Yeah.
promised the Bivol fight, and Eddie didn't fall through. And it's not like, all right, Zerdo's been, even though that was he shouldn't have even been slid in. Okay, he's been beat
Well,
now.
basically
So
saying,
who else is in the way for to fight Bivol now?
Well, Boisa, by the looks of it, he won't be fighting no one ever again.
well, basically saying Eddie was mentioning Chantel earlier on ID Boxing. So, like I say, I ain't really kept up with all the videos of recent. Like I say, I go on, I try.
And I heard that they're trying to slide in. I heard they're trying to slide in this guy called Rivera, the one who fought Badu Jack out in Dubai, like for Bivol next. Like, come on, man, this is. You can see why Boatsy's getting mad. So people can say, "Oh, he's difficult to work with," but if you're getting shafted at work, you're
number one. Like, just put him in already, man.
Yeah, because you know.
But what is difficult to work with when you actually question someone's reasoning for why they're doing something? Then all of a sudden you become the difficult one. Do as you're told, or I'll tell everyone you're difficult.
Yeah.
How many times have we heard that?
Yeah, you're combative. You're hard to work with. You're aggressive. You know, there's a connotations, but what it is if for us, I notice he's going on that BT thing with his, his Ghanaian brother Denzel, because what we do know is that if he was to go over to BT, Frank Warren would be like, listen, Joshua Boatsy, Olympian, knocking people out. I'm going to enforce that mandatory with the WBA. I'm going to talk to Gilberto Mendoza tomorrow. I'm going to enforce that mandatory because it's by rights, by law, in paper, is set in stone. He's been mandatory for over a year. This is a travesty. That Eddie, he made a promise. He beat, Craig Richards, who just went a big, good, hard 12 rounds of Bivol. Joshua Boatsy's the man. He's next up. And guess what? I fancy Boatsy's chances. I really do.
Yeah.
What if Boatsy went to Frank then?
Frank will get him the shot. That's what I'm saying. This is what Frank is good as enforcing mandatories,
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why you got to give him reins. He did the WBO European route and it got yard into a mandatory twice. That's what I say. I can't knock what they did. They did it fantastic. They did a route no one expected, or no one. I didn't even know you could move yourself into a mandatory from that title. It happened twice.
Yeah. So then you have to look at the business of boxing and realize that you've got a fully locked down home
would we forgive
before you
Frank
run off and try and sort everybody else. Look, we don't need to discuss.
I'm just saying, like, I'm getting bored of watching shows, and because he was upset when my man lost. He should. That little
when who lost?
The guy who was a heavyweight, his brother lost, and I was watching that fight, and I was like, this guy's terrible.
Carroll, the light heavyweight.
If that's what I don't even know what it was.
Yeah, he's a light heavyweight.
Like I thought it was Daryl Sharp. I found more entertaining. Like that guy gave me entertainment on the night.
I only watched 3 fights.
Yeah, no, Daryl Sharp's sick. Daryl Sharp could have easily won. He literally just gave him a tutoring lesson.
Yeah, Daryl Sharp definitely left that fight with a lot of credit because he put on, and I feel he should have just went for the victory.
Nah, but he don't get work next week.
Nah, no, he did have a fight. I think in like 2 weeks. I think I saw on BoxRec at the time. Because I had to look up his record. I was like, I thought I heard what I heard, and I thought, nah, we can't really. Then I saw the record, and I was like, yikes, this is just looking not good. And then to see him go the way he did, it was even better.
Yeah.
Super D. Boatsy's not based in the UK. So I think he's kind of, you know what? That's a fair point. Out of sight, out of mind, because he trains abroad.
That's why people.
I'll give you that.
Frank. That's why a few people was mentioning.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. Literally got to the venue close to 10 p.m. just so I didn't see the snooze. OTC.
And for OTC to say that, is terrible.
You're ruining his credibility. So tonight well, us on here and the majority in the chat do not put Anthony Yard at number one. But what we want to do is make sure that you understand that it's subjective. We've all got different opinions, and no one's taking anything away from him about his performance. We're just talking about the British level based on who they've fought, those comparisons, and the results of fights. I'm one of these that doesn't believe in giving out awards because you took part. You get awards when you win, and that's just the way I see things.
Don't it? He got his little medal at the end.
Okay.
Why do they do that? Why do the WBC do that? Give out medals?
Oh, like there's a second place in WBC then. Oh yeah, sorry, he had the chain round. He had the thing. He had the thing. Yeah.
Angle medal.
It's
I probably would have done an AJ with that still.
I'd have dashed it. It grinds my gears.
Fair enough, Shaq. That's not the point. If he ain't based in the UK, he's registered with the British board. I get that, but what Super D's saying, and it does make sense. Out of sight, out of mind. He's not someone that's maybe going to be like hassling.
Yeah, because he's not really someone who's active on social media neither. So it's not like you get that kind of presence. Whereas Yard, you see Yard active on social media. You see the other fighters active. Whereas it's very easy to forget JB exists because you really don't see him.
Yeah, he does a couple. He spends a lot of time in Ghana as well. So he's never really over it.
Yeah,
he does a lot for the community out in Ghana, though.
Yeah, but then Shaq's got a point. That shouldn't really make a difference because obviously he's a British fighter registered with the British, boxing board of control. I get it. It's iffy. All of it's iffy. But we do agree Buatsi needs to step up. We do agree that on the majority that Yard is second or third place. I really wouldn't put him lower than that on the British level. We've only gone to 5 fighters. So sorry if there's any other light heavyweights that you feel that you weren't included. We've just gone to 4 and 5 fighters and based on their fights and what they've achieved. We all agree about Aziz is the one that's creeping up in the shadows. I know that Craig Richards says that he's got a fight date coming up soon. Hopefully it is the Bolotniks, because then that'll just make me really happy to see that. Lewis Hamilton lives in Monaco. Got a point. Don't pay tax here either. But we're all kind of like on the same page. But one thing I will say, we were truly entertained. I'm proud to be, British. We've got some really good fighters in this country. No doubt. The UK is definitely on the map for boxing. I want to see Eddie Hearn come back over here and really take a grip of the British fighters as well, because he signed an Australian heavyweight. You what?
Or just give Frank the full reign of like the UK side of things. Like if Frank's your heir, like to take over, at least you can put him in one.
I thought you meant Frank Warren then.
Not Frank Warren, Frank Smith. Yeah. You can put Frank Smith in one of these places. Like he could have left Frank Smith to do the UK side whilst he was doing everything globally. Because we've seen when Frank Smith's either been in America doing the stuff in America while Eddie's been over here. So you've proven
Frank's cool, man.
You can split your time. So I think that's how it should have been. Because it allows more work to get done too. And then the fans still stay happy.
But we are sat here from, a fan's point of view. We do not know the intricacies of what it goes into being a promoter, a manager of boxers. I'm not here to criticize anyone on what they do as a job, because I don't do it. I'm here as a fan and just giving a subjective view on a division that we think, what I believe is a hot division in the UK. And that was what tonight's debate was about. We knew that there wasn't going to be 100% everyone agreeing with each other, but it's a debate about the sport, about a division that's hot right now in the UK. Guys, anything from you guys? I didn't realize we've been going for like an hour and 15 minutes. I was only supposed to do an hour.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, this list is subjective. My list is not the be all and end all, and it's not right, it's not wrong. But I think it's all fighters in the top 5 which have been listed should feel very proud of themselves, because at the moment, I feel, and I've even spoke about this to a couple of fighters. I said, listen, I don't feel anyone in Britain is beating the two champions in Bivol and Beterbiev. Unfortunately, we're just in an era where these guys have got two elite guys. It's similar to in the welterweight division before. There was a lot of decent British guys, but they was never going to beat Pacquiao or Floyd. So after these two, after Beterbiev's gone in a couple of years, because Bivol is 31, so he's still young. After Beterbiev's gone, or the belts get fragmented, I see the British guys definitely picking up a world title. I see three of them winning a world title. I see Yard being a world champion. I see Craig being a world champion. Callum Smith definitely good enough. Dan Aziz is good enough. Boatsi, they're all good enough to be world champions. So yeah.
Why would if the belts did get fragmented, we could see the domestic dust ups for world titles, which
100%.
makes it even that bit more.
Yeah, and that's what I think will happen. But I think for now, what our guys need to focus on is winning things like European and IBO, because that Padraig McCrory has got the IBO. Do that, bide your time. 18 with the activity these guys have with only 2 fights a year. 18 months, 2 years goes very fast. You're only going to have 2-3 fights in between your world title shot then. So make the most of it.
Real.
Yeah, it's not even, and the worst thing is it's not even a long career.
Well, no, it isn't.
Get what you can.
We'll be around whinging on the internet longer than they will be fighting. But guys, you want to plug your YouTube channel? What I want to say is thank you to everybody in the chat, the comments, the goings, the super chats, the comments. Sorry if I didn't get to read out all of them. But Dan, do you want to shout out your channel? Get people over to subscribe to yours.
Yep, guys, you can find me on Instagram at FightFanTV Live. You can follow me, subscribe to the YouTube channel Fight Fan TV Live, where I also do a podcast called the Neutral Corner Podcast. Great interviews. I've got another interviews coming out next week. Guest coming on is Dan Aziz, not Dan Aziz.
Yeah, Dan Aziz already.
Yeah, Denzel Bentley, the British champion. So if you want to go on Instagram and ask me any questions you'd like Denzel to answer, I'll be more than happy. You can do that in the Discord as well. So yeah, Fight Fan TV Live. And remember, guys, persistence beats resistance.
Yeah, mine.
I'm gonna get that BlackBerry.
Yeah, just get him on the t-shirt. Yeah, now for me, it's with Mullah. The YouTube channel will have more videos on this year. Spent January just spending with the kids, so hopefully from this month onwards, I'll start putting out more stuff. At the moment, there's a lot of football, but I will cover more sports going forward. And the YouTube, the Instagram and everything will soon be the same with Mullah.
Here we go. And obviously, you know where you're there. October Red Boxing. Listen, thank you very, very much. Hit the likes if you can. And yeah, we're gonna do this again because I'm gonna be doing a review on Monday of the fight that's going on DAZN.
Can't wait for that card.
But I think that we also need to discuss a couple of like the heavyweight stuff that's coming up as well. Danny, I don't know. I'm gonna throw it over to you if you want to host a live on your YouTube next time. We rotate because we seem to kind of like gel in conversation. Because you know what I will say, I'm going to dark up Base on here. I said to Base, let's do a pre-fight debate. I said, let's do a pre-fight debate like on the Saturday before the Yard fight. Yeah, you know the geezer went and done a full breakdown on his own channel. So I just thought, you know what, forget that.
No, but what it is, I prefer to come on your channel because I'm not really good at setting up all this technical stuff. You know, I'm terrible with this technical stuff.
I've got Anthony Joshua in the background when we're not talking about him. I couldn't get it off the screen. But I'm okay because I mess up all the time.
If someone can help me with setting up, that's why you don't see me doing watch-alongs in YouTube lives and stuff. I'm so not technical.
Man, you can't do watch-alongs, man. You seem to always be their security. You always seem to be ringside.
But yeah, but we can do it midweek. We ain't got to do it fight because obviously I'm at the events as well and it more time. So yeah, we do something midweek. Listen, these conversations carry on. We're getting into private talk now. Guys, bless up.
Sorry, guys. Anyone who's came over here from seeing the advertisements from either myself or Mullah, make sure that you subscribe to October Red Boxing, the channel right now. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell button. Ding, ding. Mills Lane. Let's get it on so you get all those notifications and hit that thumbs up button. It don't cost you nothing.
It's free. Hit it while it's free.
Man, shut up, base, about no one watches your channel. Sure. Yeah, end this blood clot, man. Sure.
That's up.